Welcome, everyone. Thank you all very much for coming today. This is the end of 4 long, hard years of labor of love for all of us, and it's a beautiful day. I'm so glad that you're all here to help us celebrate this event. I want to thank you all for being here, and I'd like to introduce all of the dignitaries who are present here today, starting with Mayor Dan Rizzo. And if I could, and let's do a big round of applause at the very end, because we've got a long program, and so we want to try and get you guys to the food as soon as we can. Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo. Second Assistant Majority Leader and 16th Suffolk District Representative Kathy Ann Reinstein, forgive me. Yeah. Councilor at Large, Brian Arrigo. Councilor at Large, John Correggio. Councilor at Large, Jessica Giannino. Councilor at Large, Bob Hass. Councilor at Large, Tony Budo, excuse me, Tony. Budo. Ward 1 Councilor, Richard Penta. Ward 2 Councilor, Ira Novoselsky. Ward 4 Councilor, Stephen Reardon. School Committee Woman, Donna Wood Pruitt. School Committee Woman, Carol Ty, who was a member of our wonderful committee. School Committeeman, Fred Sinella. School Committeeman, Dan McGuire. And representing the City Planner and City Hall, Frank Stringy is here. And I think that covers everybody. I hope I didn't miss anybody, and if I did, I'm sorry, and thank you for being here. As I said, this is the culmination of 4 long years, and it's interesting what a beautiful day is today. And I was speaking to Speaker DeLeo's aide the other day, Whitney Ferguson, I believe is her name, and she was saying, "You're going to have such a great day." And I says, "Of course we are. This is a Beachmont event. It wouldn't dare rain." And today is celebrating, the support that we've gotten from everybody involved. And believe me, there's been a lot of work on our part, but we couldn't have done it, as we keep saying over and over again, without the support of everybody. We couldn't have done it without the support of the community, the support of City Hall, and some great corporate angels that you're going to hear about later on. And they've all reached out to help us make our goals. And so today, it's a celebration of all that help that we've had, and all the speakers. When you hear Joanne speak, and Carol, and everybody else speaking, and the speaker, and Kathy Ann, it's all about that, celebrating this event. It's so great to finally get to this point. So with that, now we're going to start off with our opening ceremony. We have the honor of having the Revere Police Honor Guard, consisting of 4 U.S. Army veterans: Patrolman Renee Kephart, Joseph Internicola, Michael Travato, and Peachy Chom. They will be leading a procession of Beachmont Elementary School children that are represented by Ellie Turner, 1st grade representative, Matthew Terrell, 2nd grade representative, Madison Lucchese and Hannah Acklog, 3rd grade representatives, Joseph Uftring, PJ Mundus, Trenton Turner, all representing the 4th grade, and Elizabeth Wykes representing the 5th grade. So please, a big round of applause for the Honor Guard and our Beachmont Elementary School children representatives. I'm going to ask you all to rise at this point in time, and we're going to have the children lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, go for it, guys, at your loudest voices.
Ed. To the republic, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right there. Okay, I'm going to ask you all to remain standing, and I'm going to ask Ed Terrell Sr. to come forward and Matthew Terrell to come forward. Ed and Matthew are going to lead us all in the national anthem.
Oh, say can you, oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed that the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh. That wasn't part of the program. All right. Let's hear it one more time for the Beachmont Elementary School representatives. Okay, at this point in time, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, Joanne McKenna. Joanne?
Good morning, and thank you for being a part of this wonderful event for Beachmont. I want to take you on a journey back in time when I was 6 years old and attending the Julia Ward House School, which is in back of you. Right here where I am standing was my playground until I was in the 8th grade. There were no trees, no grass, just a fence to keep the kids in, and there was a lot of dirt. I remember playing kickball and kicking the ball over the fence into the street. Just so you know, that was a home run. I am sure some of you have the same memories. Years later, after the Julia Ward House closed, a trailer was brought onto the park. Excuse me, I was crying, so my nose is running. A trailer was brought onto the park, and the Beachmont Public Library was established. I went there every day to read books and hang around with the neighborhood kids. The library was then replaced by the Revere Police Substation, where a group of us would gather to hold our monthly Beachmont Neighborhood Association meetings. That was back in the day. After the substation closed, this trailer stood empty, neglected, deteriorating for years. On occasion, I would buy paint to cover the graffiti on the sides of the building, hoping to maintain its condition, but I just couldn't keep up with it. As I drove to work every day, I could not help but to see this deplorable trailer. I knew I couldn't sit idly by anymore, watching the place where I spent so much of my childhood remain in such deteriorating condition. This little area has always been a special place in my heart. I called on a group of good friends who I knew loved Beachmont and who would take action and be dedicated to this cause. Our goal was to remove the trailer and raise funds to build a beautiful park we needed to raise $80,000. It wasn't easy. For about a year, the park stood dormant. People started to complain, and some of my wonderful committee members began to feel stressed out. Some lost sleep worrying about how the park would get done. With help from the City of Revere, numerous fundraisers, donations, the purchase of the pavers, benches, and 6 years of waiting and working, we have finally done it. We completed a beautiful park, probably the best park in Revere. Today, this park memorializes people who have come and gone and honor many who are still here, along with expressing my gratitude to everyone who participated in helping making the completion of this park possible. I would like to take a moment to give special recognition to each member of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, all whom have worked diligently to create the Beachmont Community Park at Douglas Cummings Square. Without the dedication, hard work, and tireless hours given by these amazing people, we would not be standing here today celebrating this wonderful accomplishment for Beachmont. So I would like every single member that I call on to please stand up, turn around, and wave. Nicole DeVoe is my vice president. She's standing in the back, she's waving. Mary Turner, my secretary. Ed DeVoe, my treasurer. Christine Anderson Coppola. Teresa Coppola Buonasoro. Corrine Candelli DeVoe. Nancy Dow. Kathleen Heiser. Kim Lyons. Debbie Santiano McHatton. I always say her name wrong, I'm sorry. Jim Mercurio, and I have to say his brother, Michael, has been instrumental, and we wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for them. Len Piazza, Bill Terrell, Tommy Turner, Rita Turner, Tiger, who's not here, Carol Ty, and Tom Wilson. Please enjoy the festivities. Thank you very much for coming, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Joanne. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce to you all the Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo.
Thank you very much, Ed, and good morning to everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to today's dedication. It's great to see so many people here today, but I have to say I'm really not surprised. I'm always very proud to say that I represent part of the city of Revere. I'm sorry, Kathy, I was just going to say the city of Revere, but I know I'd never hear the end of it if I said that. And the revitalization of this park, I think, is a perfect example of why I feel that way. Revere has a long, long history of coming together to get things done. So many of our neighbors give their time, their talent, and resources to make this city a better place to live. Today, I'd like to especially thank Jim and Michael Mercurio, who began this project. They saw not only a need in our community, but an opportunity. The Mercurio brothers knew how much work the project would take and knew how to make it happen. They helped form a team of public officials, and they engaged corporate donors from as far away as, I believe, Pennsylvania, to build what we see here today. Thank you to our public officials. Your leadership was nothing short of amazing. And to the Beachmont Improvement Committee, your commitment has been invaluable. And thank you to Valley Crest Landscape Development, Phillips Lighting, and Hanover Architectural Products. I hope that we will always remember the generosities of these companies as we go forward and enjoy the park. Today, we must also keep ourselves committed to keep this park clean and to keep it safe. More than perhaps ever before, our community spaces depend on our involvement and our interest. This park is ours to enjoy, but it is also our responsibility to maintain, and we must treat it as such. The Beachmont Community Park joins the Gautreaux Memorial Pavilion, the Macaulay Memorial Plaza, and the Markey Bridge as a great addition to our city. I believe that these revitalizations will be followed by additional efforts as we bring out the city's full potential. Finally, and most importantly, I want to thank you for having me. And congratulations, a sincere congratulations to all of you involved in making this rededication possible. Thank you and God bless. Thank you very much, Ed.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much for those great words. Next, I'd like to introduce and invite up to the podium a dear friend of ours, a true friend to Revere and great representative to the city of Revere, Kathy Ann Reinstein.
Thank you very much, Ed. Okay, first thing first, everyone follows me on Facebook, so everybody wave. Everybody wave, it's going to be on Facebook. Okay, sorry, had to do it. Because I think everybody in Beachmont and the Improvement Council has a great presence on social media, and we're going to post it later, so tag yourselves. This is a really exciting day. It's an emotional day, too, and I think it's an emotional day for anybody who has any ties to Beachmont, because the people that bleed this neighborhood, and it's nice to come here, and I've stopped and I've taken my husband and I've told him stories about my Uncle Icy, and my dad's here, and I know a lot of you have your parents here and your grandparents here. So this is special. So thank you for the people who decided to put this together, because nobody ever leaves Beachmont, even if you try. You never, ever leave. Right? And I just, this is a special place for me because I would visit, my aunt and uncle, and I still have cousins here on Endicott Ave. And when I was a little kid, my dad would drive me through the streets and say, I lived here, I lived here, I think he lived on every street in Beachmont from the way it sounded. And from what I'm told is the big Reinstein triple-decker that was, I guess, a home of quite hysterics and very fun when I hear stories about my uncles and my great-grandparents. Looked right down here, so it's nice that Icy's name is right here. And I want to also thank Beachmont for providing the entertainment this morning. We had a car accident and arrest, and I think that was also fabulous because there's always great entertainment in Beachmont. So it's just like par for the course. I think it's been like the perfect Beachmont day. And of course, you kept the sunshine. So I just am honored to be able to speak here, and I think it's great. Thank you, Carol and everyone, for finding Icy's plaque. That's special too. So hopefully it'll find a home either in a display case at the police station and not in the basement where we found it, or at the Historical Society where it belongs, because Icy remains the patron saint of this neighborhood. And hopefully soon we'll see a dedication for Icy right next to the Markey Bridge in a year or so is my hope. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day. This is a great day for Beachmont. And I'm just very, very glad to be here. And thank you, all of you, for making this happen. It's special to my family, too.
Thank you so much, Kathy. We hope that the entertainment later on will be a notch up from what we had earlier. And, Kathy mentioned the plaque that's in front of the podium here. And for those of you who may not be aware, the trailer that used to exist on this park at one time was a public library. And then it became a police substation. And when it became the police substation, I believe, is when Icy Reinstein was honored with the plaque being placed on the station. And fortunately, as she mentioned, we were able to find it. It was one of those missing treasures for a while, and we did find it through the help of Captain Terrence Reardon, actually, I think. And I think he's the keeper of it at this point. So when you have a chance, check it out. And I agree with you, it should go into the Historic Society at some point. Okay, moving on, I'm sorry. I'm going to now invite up another dear friend and great supporter of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, not just the stuff we're doing here in the park, but all of the things that we do. He comes to our meetings. He's not able to make them every month, but he tries to make every one that he can. A great supporter of ours and a great help to us, Ward 1 Councilor Richard Penta.
Thank you, Ed. I'm actually going to have to change my speech. Joanne took most of it away with the history of the park, but that's all well and good. And I can remember State Representative Kathy Reinstein's father actually cutting a ribbon for when they had the substation here. I was actually here when that was done, the dedication, and that was a great moment. But basically, this is not a political day for me or anybody here. I just want to spend 2 minutes to speak about a couple people that I actually got a phone call from someone in Delaware today, lives in Beachmont, just got off the plane. It's Rich, I heard you were speaking. And you mentioned a couple of people. I said, these were the first ones I was going to mention, along with many others. And, Joanne started off saying that the Beachmont improvement, she brought this up to them to take this task on. And I don't think they realized the task they took on, but to their tenacity and everything else, they stood strong, and it took a little longer than they thought, and that's how government works. So now you know how frustrated we get when we try to get things done. It takes longer than normal. But there's two brothers, the Mercurio brothers, that had the foresight. It's their business of landscaping, but I tell you, it goes a long way. They live right across the street, grew up right across the street. Beachmont people, I don't know how many different generations, a lot of generations, 4 or 5 generations along in this Beachmont Improvement Committee. I'm 4th generation, my kids are 5th generation in the Beachmont area. Never moved out of it. Hopefully I never will. But the work that they took on, and it was $80,000, $90,000 that was raised primarily by themselves. I don't know if people remember, I'm sure you do, because it was probably one of the top events the city's ever had, was the reunion that they had down on Ballroom. And you couldn't buy a ticket. Sold out. Because of the fire department, you couldn't have anybody else going there. People were begging to get a ticket. That's how success that was. Everything they do is a success because they do it to the fullest. Now, in this park last year, they were going to dedicate it. Like I said, Ed said, I go to the meetings, and it's like, well, we're not done yet. Oh, we can finish it. No, we're going to wait till it's done. And even this year in August or July, they were thinking of having it then. We're not quite done yet. You had people, giving extra flowers or lights or whatever, and you see the Christmas lights up here. I mean, there are people that just care about this city. And I think it reflects on a lot of other people. You can tell it does. Look at the people here. And it's dedicated to you people for the hard work that you're doing. And I'm glad it's a showing like this because they deserve it. And I'm not going to stop here, which is a good thing. For me as a ward council and stuff like that, they make me look good. They really do. And I have friends that live outside the city that drive through the city to go to places. They see the Kimberly Park down there, this park, and it's like, geez, what's going on there? I mean, it's like, it's a blossom. It's a great thing. I hear people wanting to move back. I hear them wanting to move back on Beachmont, which is a good thing. But I'm not going to go on forever because I know people waiting for the food. But trust me, you have a group of people in this BIC that is second to none, that won't stop. And I hope all the other memorial parks over the next few years are done. Maybe not as good as this, but almost as good as this. And I know they'll fight hard to do it. And I tell you, Frank Stringer I want to give a shout out to. And I want to give a shout out to our mayor, because he's never refused me once of anything, especially when it comes to beautification. And the mayor strives on that. I mean, you go up Broadway, you see the city workers, which you've never seen before, walking, cleaning the gutters. And that's, every time I went to him, I know he comes to the Beachmont Improvement Committees also. He comes here. When I ask him to come, he comes, and I want to thank him also. But enjoy yourself today. This is your day. The Beachmont Improvement Committee did this so you can have a great day and look at this great park. I like the view when you come down this street. Never mind coming this way. So anybody that didn't come down this way, go around the block and come down, and it's just spectacular. I mean, it's unbelievable. But thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Richard. It's interesting. He was talking about the view coming down, and I was talking with Michael Mercurio the other day. We were doing some work down here, and he said he had an acquaintance from Winthrop who actually comes through this way all the time. And he says, every day I come down, I see this park. It's gorgeous. I'm going back to Winthrop and tell them to start doing this. So I said, wow, that's great. So it's working. It's wonderful. Okay, next. Once again, it's my privilege. I'm sounding repetitive. Dear friend, great supporter, comes to our meetings, listens to our problems and issues, and has been with us in all of our dedications. When we did the Urban Trail a couple of weeks ago, he's here today. He's been in our reunion. He's been in a number of different things. Mayor Dan Rizzo.
Ed, thank you so much. It really is an honor and a privilege for me to be here. Before I just say a few words, Representative Reinstein had alluded to the entertainment we had a little while ago with the arrest and the takedown of somebody apparently that was either driving without a license or something, and they were involved in an accident, ironically enough, with Councilor Corriggio's vehicle. And I had said to Councilor Corriggio prior to coming here, no campaigning. I tried to tell him, knock it off. This is an event for the Beachmont people, but But anyway, Counselor, I hope you didn't sustain too much damage as a result of that accident, and you'll be back on the road in no time. So, what a beautiful park. Really, this is a real tribute to, and I know it's been mentioned, but I don't think it can be said enough, especially today, to Jimmy and Michael Mercurio. What a great job that they did. What a great vision they had for this park. Part of me is starting to think I should relocate City Hall to Beachmont because you guys are always having events. I've been here at the dedication of the beautiful Jimmy Kimberly Park down here. Last week was the dedication of the Urban Trail, and now here at Cummings Park. Really, Beachmont, I can't say enough about the work you do and the volunteerism that you bring to this community. It's not only a tribute to Beachmont, but really it's a tribute and a credit to the entire city of Revere when you take on projects such as this. And it makes my job and my life a lot easier as mayor when you can just show up and say a few words about a park as beautiful as this. And I know the hard work that the Beachmont Improvement Committee does, as I say, not just on this park, not on Kimberly Park, but annually we have our Revere Shines event where we invite people to come out and help clean up the city. They're the first people there. And with or without Revere Shines, they're always out there making Beachmont shine. So really, a big shout out to the Beachmont Improvement Committee for all of your hard work and those of you in Beachmont that help make Beachmont such a great neighborhood. It's projects like this that is going to sustain and continue the success of what all of you are going to experience here in the Beachmont neighborhoods and the Beachmont area. I know for a long, long time. It's amazing as I look out here. There's probably at least a couple hundred people that are taking part in this ceremony, and it's something that I've been trying to instill as mayor throughout every neighborhood in this city. It's getting people out of their houses, getting them included, and getting them active in their neighborhoods. It only builds for a stronger and better neighborhoods across the city, a stronger and better community. And this is, I can't tell you, what an example that all of you are creating here today by being involved and so helpful and so supportive of this project here that's going to stand for a long, long time. I know, we were talking about what was here before and how it used to be a schoolyard, and then it went to a library, and then ultimately to a police substation, which ironically enough, some 20 years ago, or in that range, maybe 15 years ago, I took a Citizens Police Academy. I don't know if any of you are here that maybe participated in that class, but it sat here in that trailer back at that time, and I think it was shortly after that they closed down the substation. And so, to go from an eyesore of an empty trailer sitting here to a beautiful park like you have here now for all of you in the Beachmont community to enjoy is just such a great, great, great thing to be able to be here and talk about. And I know it's going to be a great thing for all of you to enjoy for many, many years to come. So on behalf of the entire city, I want to congratulate all of you involved. I want to congratulate the residents of Beachmont for being the recipients of such a beautiful park. I'm going to do my very best, as it was said, to keep it clean and safe, and enjoy the rest of the day. You all earned it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And the mayor touched on something about keeping it clean and safe, and I think Speaker DeLeo brought up something earlier about making sure that we keep it clean and keep it up. And it's interesting. In the 4 years that we've been building this park and the stages, it's nothing short of amazing, and amazing may be the wrong word, but really encouraging more than anything else to me, to see the respect that this park has throughout the community. Not once that I can remember has there been any defacing or any messing around with the park, if you will. People truly understand the meaning of this park and really respect it. And for that, I say thank you all. Thank you, everybody within the community of Beachmont. And yes, we're going to keep it up. Okay, it's again my pleasure to invite up Ms. Carol Ty, who is a member of our Beachmont Improvement Committee, school committee woman. past superintendent of schools, and I think to a number of you who are out there where she was a teacher of yours at one point in time. And she's going to deliver a special presentation. Carol?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to give a little history, a little actual history, not the history in our hearts, but a little history that is in the history books. This park is named after Douglas Earl Cummings. He was a World War I casualty. He was born in Canada in the year 1892 and immigrated to the United States with his family when he was 4 years old. He was one of 6 children born to John and Lottie Cummings. The family settled in Dorchester and later moved to 27 Endicott Avenue. By the way, over the course of their lives, they lived in, we could find in the history books, 4 other addresses at which they lived, including Orchard Park, State Road, Bennington Street, and several others. He left Beachmont and he went to work in Chicago as an auto mechanic before he entered the military. He was 25 years old on January 15th, 1918. He served with the 69th New York, which you might remember is a storied regiment made up of mostly Irish. Cummings died of injuries sustained in the Saint-Meliel salient campaign in northeastern France on September 19th, just 2 months before the armistice was signed. Now, it was a military salient, a hill shaped like a V, and the French and the English had tried and they had failed to push back on this front. But General John Pershing had requested that the Americans themselves be allowed to wage this ground campaign, and it was granted. They won, but there was a staggering cost. 7,000 American boys lost their lives to take that salient. Douglas Earl Cummings was one of them. May he rest in peace. We'll celebrate the rededication of this park in his name in a few minutes. But let me go back to some of the history of the particular land here. Because those of you who remember the Julia Ward Howe, and certainly Joanne remembers playing on this dirt space down here, this was originally a school in Beachmont, actually the first school. And I chuckle as a member of the school committee because the school committee set up a subcommittee to vote for where the school should be placed. And there were a lot of people who felt that this was not a suitable place. And the majority voted that this would not be suitable and it should be down the street there, closer to the station. But 2 members of the committee, who obviously had much more influence, gave a minority report and said it should be right here on this triangle. And somehow or other, they won the day. So the school was erected right here in 1877. It also harkens back. School opened 3 weeks before September 23rd, but because the furniture didn't arrive for the school, they couldn't open it up. So 3 weeks later than all the other kids went to school, when their furniture arrived, they came into this building. There are only 2 rooms in the building, 1 teacher, an ungraded school of 42 pupils. Gradually, they added more grades, and as a matter of fact, one name, Beachmont name you will know, the teacher in the junior high and the acting principal of the school was Mary T. Ronan, who is memorialized up on the hill. And I know many of you went to the Mary T. Ronan School. The triangle remained a green space for a period of time, but eventually there was no more adequacy, and there was not enough room for the kids in the school. So they closed it down and they built other schools in Beachmont. 3 of them, as a matter of fact, that we might remember. The Louis Pasteur, the Bradstreet Avenue School originally, now the Mary T. Ronan, and the wooden school over here named after Julia Ward Howe. It sat for a long time, and the triangle was vacant. It was underused. It's much bigger, actually, you might notice that, much bigger than you would think it would be, but we can look at it. So when you walk around here, remember not only Douglas Cummings, but remember the school kids who sat here. Remember the kids like Joanne, who played on this green space, which was not green then, except with weeds, as I remember, a lot of dirt and a lot of messiness, but a lot of joyful noise from a bunch of kids, too. And then it was made into a library because the 3 schools in Beachmont had barely more than classrooms. So we thought that the kids needed a library here, and that trailer was erected. And if you look at the plaque in the front of this podium, you will see it was first erected in honor again of Captain Arthur J. Reinstein. It was a memorial library dedicated in 1977. That came about with some money, but as soon as there were financial constraints, the library was closed. At some point, we found some money in 1996 and rededicated again in honor of Captain Arthur J., or as we know him, I knew him as Mr. Icy. And Icy's plaque was erected there. That was 1996. Again, there were financial constraints. Again, the substation was closed. Again, the land lay dormant until the Beachmont Improvement Committee, thanks to Joanne for organizing it, and I could name every single member of the committee who has worked so hard to make this happen, so very hard. So what is it for us today? It's a wonderful little green space, a fully green space again. And as small as it has great significance in the life of Beachmont. Today, it's a place of peace and comfort amidst an urban setting. It's a place to meditate about our past, present, and I hope the future life of our community. It's a place to reminisce about the experiences here that we have had, and a place to rejoice in the lives of all who are memorialized here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Okay, at this point in time, what we would like to do is we have some certificates of appreciation to recognize some people who have, you know, to many extents have been above and beyond the call of duty in terms of helping us get to this goal. For the first presentation, I would like to invite up Jim Mercurio, a member of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, one of the Mercurio brothers you keep hearing about. Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending this wonderful occasion today on such a beautiful day for a beautiful park. It is my privilege and my brother's privilege to install and build such a beautiful park for the residents and people of the Beachmont community. And my brother and I hope that you enjoy it, come down, sit down on the benches, and memorialize and remember all that have been put in this park. Thank you very much. The first person we'd like to recognize is Frank Stringy. Frank works as the Director of Community Development and Planning for the City of Revere. Frank played an important role in the development of this park, and through his department, the city received funding for all the new sidewalks and granite curbing for the park. I would like to present this certificate of appreciation to Frank Stringy for all that he has done for the Beachmont and the Beachmont residents. Thanks, Frank. Did that all go away? Okay. The next person we'd like to recognize is Donnie Goodwin, who is not here, but Paula Genjo, we will be accepting the appreciation award for him. Donnie is the superintendent of the Department of Public Works for the City of Revere. Donnie was instrumental in kickstarting the development of this park. Through his department, he had the old library police substation removed and trailer removed. In recognition and appreciation for your continued support and active involvement in the Beachmont community, we, the BIC, would like to thank Donnie Goodwin for all he has done for us. Paul's going to take another. Paul, you say that? No, Paul, okay, yeah. Okay. Next award, which is part of that award too, is for Paul Argenzio. I would like to take this opportunity to pay special recognition to Paul Agenzio, the Director of the Parks Department. Through the Parks Department, we have been able to receive funding for development of this park, such as flowers and landscape supplies. The Parks Department has also been very supportive with the setup of this special event, such as the one we are having here today. In recognition to the many hours you have given to the Beachmont Improvement Committee, we truly appreciate your efforts in making the park beautiful, and we thank you from the Beachmont Improvement Committee. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Next, I'd like to invite back up the President of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, Joanne McKenna.
Thank you. Tom Ambrosino was the former mayor when the Beachmont Committee went with our idea to build a memorial park. I just want to present this to Tom and thank you for your support for allowing us to move forward and making the idea that we had for this memorial park a reality. Tom, will you come up here, please? Dan Rizzo is our current mayor and continued the support to finish the park. Thank you, Mayor Rizzo, for all that you have done to help the Beachmont Improvement Committee make Beachmont a cleaner and safer place to live. Will Dan come up here, please? Thank you, Dan. You're welcome. Thank you for all your work.
I mentioned earlier that there were a number of corporate angels that came to our rescue at times to help us keep this thing moving on over some obstacles and roadblocks that we occurred, financially in the sense of trying to get things done. For this next level of recognitions, I want to invite Bill Terrell, another member of the Beachmont Improvement Committee, to present these awards.
Thank you. Before I start, just want to tell a little story. A couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, whenever the Beachmont reunion was, great success. And I think that was a fall event, I think it was, March. We had just finished. Everybody's on a high. And we're like, okay, what's next? So Jimmy, my father-in-law Ed, and I were out in his nice little yard having a few beers, thinking about how we gonna tackle this now. What's next? How do we get what to here? So we, and I'm going to say I, and I'm going to apologize, but we as a team came together and found those corporate angels. And I don't know if they're all here. I know a couple of them have had a few issues today that they've had to deal with some stuff, but Valley Crest, I don't know if Eric's out here yet or not, but this is a gentleman who I've worked with for 10.5 years through work, and done several great projects with him. And he kept asking, where are you going today or something on the weekends? Said we had some Beachmont stuff, and he asked, what was it about? And we talked and everything, and he said, how can I help you? And I said, okay, that's a great opportunity. So all the sod, some of the stones that we have up here, Eric got his company to donate it. We had a truck show up last year, all this sod, Jimmy and his brother and his workers. It's phase one, as I'll call it. So what's the next phase? I'm going to jump it around here because they're not all in order, but we started thinking, getting the process thinking here, and reaching out to people. There is one lady here from Phillips, North America, one of the largest lighting companies here, who within the last 4 months stepped up to the plate, and all the final site lighting that you see here, the lights that are under these trees, all these low voltage lights just got installed. We couldn't have done it without her company. Her company, I was talking to her, she's like, you know what, we just had an email we do in-house programs like that. We look for community. What can we help donate to? So I want to welcome Bianca Leonard from Phillips North America Lighting Company.
Got Jimmy first. All right, here we go. That's it. Thank you very much.
So we have all these lights. Well, how do we get them in? And I don't know if Carl Swenson is here, but I think everybody in the city knows who Carl is. And Carl actually, I think, was on the ice this morning teaching youth hockey, and he donated his time this week. We just got the lights in the last week or so, and after work, in between his schedule with his son and everything, we're down here at night and we're wiring and getting these lights lit. So I don't think Kyle is here right now, but Kyle deserves a round of applause. So that's not going to stay yet. So the biggest sponsor, the guys that actually made this happen. Like I said, we're sitting around having a few beers in Ed's yard, and we're like, what can we do? Not a little company, but out in Pennsylvania, had a connection and reached out to them, and weren't looking for anything free or anything like that. Just asking them that they, if you have any leftover pavers, something that we can get from them, stuff that they don't use, leftover from projects, what could they help us out? Well, that snowballed into an 18-wheeler showing up, going by Jimmy's house at about 5 in the morning one morning, and coming here all the way from Pennsylvania. I mean, Pennsylvania, guys. This is Beachmont, okay? A nice couple mom-and-pop shop donated pallets of pavers that we still have in Jimmy's yard. So you can build another park if we wanted to. We could actually buy some more, all right? Hanover Architectural Pavers out of Pennsylvania could not be here. I've been in contact with them this week. This is their busy season for trade shows. They're all over the country. But Dan, who I dealt with, will be in the city in Boston in November, and he's going to come over one night. We're going to go for dinner with a couple members, and he really wants to see the park. But it couldn't have been done without them. That's what really got this thing going. Once we got the pavers, it snowballed into what we see here today. So, guys, round of applause for them. Thank you.
The whole thing takes place with a lot of teamwork and a lot of effort, and as I said, we're trying to recognize people who have gone above and beyond the call of duty here. There are two other certificates that it's going to be my pleasure to award, and I think you'll all agree are justly deserved. The first one goes out to the Mercurio brothers, Michael and Jim Mercurio. Come on up here, guys. And I think you've heard from a number of speakers today, how instrumental they've been in this park. And, going back 4 years ago when we started this, they had a vision for what could be done, with this park. To as I put it in one of my conversations with people, turn an underused and blighted space into what really is one of the jewels in the crown of Beachmont. And Jim and Mike, it's my pleasure to give you both a certificate of appreciation for what you've done and how you've gotten us here. And by the way, they not only brought the vision, but they put the money up front. They paid the money for the landscape architect to do the design for the park, and then and have been here nights and weekends and with us, and it's just been incredible the level of commitment and effort that they put into this thing. So, justly, thanks again.
Thank you.
And the last one goes out to my son-in-law, William Terrell, a great member of the Beachmont Committee, and you heard him talk about, these people, these corporate angels who rescued us. Well, and to a certain extent, he's somewhat our angel as well. he recognized, a problem, and then we were talking about how do we overcome these hurdles, and we talked about, grants, doing this, doing that, and we sit in the backyard, as he said, have a few beers, and try and figure out how do we overcome this problem, and he took it upon himself in a number of instances to reach out to these people and to get things done. You have a problem solved, you can turn to somebody like Bill to get it resolved. So Bill, come on up here for a very justly deserved reward. And last of all, because it definitely is a team effort, there are people that stand out in terms of these recognition awards, but it certainly is a team effort. Joanne mentioned all the Beachmont Improvement Committee members earlier. There's also, as a team, we all have our lives. We were involved in other things, and you try to figure out how you're going to get all this done. And it's through the great efforts and sacrifice and commitment of people. Planning for this event alone took about 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 meetings to figure out how we're going to do logistics and everything else like that. And there was a committee involved, and I'm going to take the risk because I forgot to write it down earlier. But I'm going to start off with Jim Mercurio and his wife Debbie, who hosted each of our meetings, and Debbie for the great sausages and the cheese and Jim for the beers and so forth. Kathleen Heiser, who was a member of the committee. Mary and Tom Turner, who were members of the committee. Tommy Wilson, a member of the committee. And by the way, again, it goes to teamwork, people's commitment to this park. I have to tell you, Joanne McKenna, the president, Tommy Wilson, over the last couple of weeks have been in this park on their knees, painting the inscriptions for some of the bricks that have faded. So when you see those nice little black things in there, you have Tommy Wilson and Joanne McKenna to thank for that. And while I'm on the subject of Tommy Wilson as well, is that if you look at the sign at the end, the Douglas Cummings sign, we noticed the other day that the sign was a little faded, and we forgot to put in a request to the DPW to paint it. And we went, what are we going to do? Tommy says, go get some paint, I'll paint it. So him and Joanne, yesterday afternoon, we're up there painting, and so you'll see a fresh set of paint there, and that's the commitment and the teamwork that exists within this group. So, and I say that by way of, we've recognized certain people, but we need to recognize, and certainly do recognize, the teamwork and the work that everybody on the Beachmont Improvement Committee did. So, give yourself a big round of applause. Okay, it's my pleasure once again to invite Carol Ty up to do a reading. Oh, yes, thank you very much. Carol, keeping me straight here. Thank you, Carol. I got carried away with the other thing there, and I forget where I'm going. There are other donors involved in this. I mean, there are people, as I said, who will go over and above the corporate sponsors and the corporate angels, as we put it, but I do want to recognize some other major donors who in many ways have contributed money to us on numerous occasions to help us put on some of our fundraising events, to help us with some of the things here in the park. And some of the people I want to recommend or recognize are Suffolk Downs and the Friends of Suffolk Downs for their efforts and their support. Global Oil, who's been a good corporate supporter of ours. Crown and Shield Management, who own and manage the building behind us, has been a good supporter. Massport, a supporter. The Abrams family, Kinship Floral and Governor Gardens Landscaping, have been great supporters. Many of you may be aware that every Christmas we put up a huge Christmas tree here in the center of the park. We light it, and we have a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Kinship and Governor's Garden have always been donators of the wreaths and so forth to help us decorate the park for that event. And they're always there for us. All the pumpkins you see came from Kinship Florists. They sent this to us yesterday because they couldn't be here, and they wanted to help in some way, make this a good event. I also wanted to recognize Toretta's Bakery, who have also been supporters, and Ralph Toretta, and responsible for the cake that we have here today. And then finally, I want to recognize the people who paid additional dollars, if you will, and it's not inexpensive if you look at those benches to put them up there. But again, committed and understand the meaning of this park and wanted to be a major part of that in terms of purchasing benches. Now, we only have so much space for benches, and we've got one more space left, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second. But I want to recognize the people who stepped up to the plate to do it. And that's the Nanworthy family, who live right across the street, see this park every day, and are so happy and thankful to see it and wanted to show their appreciation. The Tranfaglia family, who have been in this neighborhood for years, who also wanted to show their appreciation for the park and recognize that. And then the Lavery Dame family, who are represented in here. And I wanted to mention there's only so much room in the park, and there will be a fourth bench coming up in November. Some of you may know the person. Her name was Taylor Richards. She was a Beachmont person who I think was living in Saugus at the time she passed away, very young age, I think 24, worked for the Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse contacted us and said, we know you have this park here. We'd like to do something in memory of Taylor, and started talking to us a while back about memorializing her with a bench. So there will be a fourth bench going in the park in memory of Taylor Richards, and that should happen sometime in November. Okay, if I didn't miss anything, Carol, I think it's now time to reintroduce Miss Carol Ty for a reading that will basically close out these ceremonies, and then she'll introduce the next.
As I mentioned earlier, in that one battle at the St. Miliel salient, 700,000 American boys lost their lives. We have in Beachmont here this very memorial for Douglas Earl Cummings. We also have the ones down in Beachmont Station, which is the Donnelly Station, named after Richard Donnelly, Donnelly Square, and Frederick's Park, named after Charles Frederick. There are other memorials around in the city after them, but those are our three Beachmont boys who are memorialized. World War I was the war to end all wars, but it didn't, of course. And it was one of the most tragic. People killed with nerve gas, people left dying in the fields. We've all seen movies of it, and so we have pictures in our minds of what it's like. And one of the loveliest poems from that time was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae of the Canadian Army. And it was his unhappy job to write letters to mothers and whole families about the death of their sons. And when one particular death hit him after the Battle of Flanders Field, which was another horrible time, he wrote a poem in memory in which he talks about memorializing the folks who had died and giving a message to us, those of us who are sitting here today, because we're sitting and standing here and enjoying this wonderful life due to what these people have done for us, for the sacrifices they made. And the poem is the incarnation of that feeling. He started, in Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, they fly, scarcely heard, amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, we felt the dawn, we saw sunset glow. We loved and we were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. I would invite you all to stand, please, while Paul Amaralt, the adjutant of the Lieutenant Norman Prince VFW post in Melrose, plays taps. And now, I invite Ed Terrell and Matthew Terrell to lead us all in God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet
Thank you. You know, Matthew, you're going to do well in entertainment because I threw you a curve. That was not the song you were supposed to get, but you guys did unbelievably well. Thank you. And thank you all. All right, well, this concludes the formal part of the ceremony. At this point in time, we're going to have the ribbon cutting part of the ceremony, and then we invite you all to mingle around in the park and to enjoy the wonderful food that's being cooked by our dear friend, Tommy Feely. And before we do that, yes, and well, two things. And I was lax and again, I get carried away sometimes and forget what I wrote down to remember. Two things. Richard Penta donated the food that we're enjoying today. So thank you very much, Richard. And Tommy Feely donated his time to cook it all. And if you've had Tommy's sausages and so forth, you know how great a treat that is. Secondly, I want to thank the Revere Police Department for providing us the honor guard that we had here today. They're so inspirational and so great to have, and providing the traffic control for us today to allow us to do the things that we needed to do, to close the street off so that we can enjoy this event. Also, the Revere Fire Department for providing the engine. When we do our Christmas ceremonies and just about every time we have an event here, they're here to help us, you know, with the engine and so forth, and they've been very supportive and instrumental to us, so I wanted to thank them as well. And then finally, and I know we've talked about the DPW, but you know, those guys I can't say enough about. They came down in the truck this morning, they provided the chairs, the PA system, everything. They're always there to help us. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
1, 2, 3. That's a beauty. I thought you cut it. Unbelievable.